I think it is time now we move to discuss this upcoming season. It just dropped a couple days ago. As a matter of fact, it was the 3rd of December. The season is called Rivals. And wow, this is a fun concept to kind of give anybody out there who's not familiar with Rivals. Rivals is I'm comparing it to like either Overwatch or Fortnite, where you get into teams. And I just watched a video on it yesterday. I tried to download it to my computer. I was telling you earlier, Evan, that I can't get it to run on my computer. So I've got to get my son to let me play it on his Xbox. The concept is there's 33 Marvel superheroes / villains that you can use, and you put together teams of 6. And you go out and you go around and you use these Marvel superheroes to fight other people. It's a video game. And the concept is we're celebrating the release of Marvel Rivals. There's a story behind it. Dr. Doom, and I think this might be the 2099 Doom, I don't know, or it may just be Dr. Doom himself, has messed with the time stream enough to where this is happening in the game too, is my understanding. There's other realities that it's fractured reality. It's fractured reality enough that some of these superheroes from this game have made their way into Marvel Snap. So that is why we have the season called Rivals here, because we now have some superheroes that are in the Rivals game, but we also get cards for them over here. Let's go ahead and get into it here. We'll talk about some of these cards. Prior to this, you told me there were some cards in here, some characters I've never heard of. I get to see our first card that comes with the season pass. I was like, okay, this got to be what Evan's talking about. Turns out it's not, but regardless, Galacta.
I hadn't heard of her until I saw this, and then I looked her up.
Okay, all right then. So Galacta, 4 cost, 6 power. Each turn, the first card you play at another location reveals with +3 power. So Galacta, you said you didn't know anything about her until you looked her up here. Can you give us an idea who she is?
She's kind of Galactus's daughter, in as much as she is Galactus's tapeworm.
Okay.
She was a parasite living in Galactus's digestive system. She absorbed so much cosmic power that she became like Galactus. Instead of eating planets, she tries to remove invasive species from planets. I don't know if that means she eats aliens or what. She was introduced in Marvel Assistant Editors Month, which is something that comic companies have done from time to time to let the assistant editors pitch weird stuff. That's where you got DC did the Legion of Substitute Heroes in a Legion of Superheroes book. Honestly, until I realized it was called Rivals, when I was just looking at the cards, I was like, is this Assistant Editors Month for Marvel Snap? But I love the power. I did go ahead and get this season pass. Thought she would be a great addition to my MCU Hammers deck, which also has Gilgamesh come in and boost himself up with those powers.
Smart.
And I saw in your notes that they're talking on Reddit about comboing her with her dad, which I thought was just my own ingenious idea that nobody else would think of.
Most of what I was seeing was using her to get Galactus, and of course somebody at Spider-Man's there too at the same time to get an even bigger Galactus.
Yep. That they are in my deck. That was actually the deck I was going to use against you in our battle.
I would have never stood a chance. I would have been mad too. I would have been real mad. I get mad a lot when I have to endure a cutscene because of a character. And as soon as the worlds start to get destroyed or whatever, I'm just like, oh, angrified.
But yeah, I've messed around with that one. I got Nimrod in there too.
Smart.
I'm all for her teaming up with Galactus. I enjoy sharing my interests with my daughters, so.
That's cool. All right, well, next up is Luna Snow, 3 cost, 5 power. On reveal, add an ice cube to each side of this location. The ice cube is a 1 cost, 0 power card, and at the start of each turn, get +1 energy. Then destroy this if your side is full here. When I originally read this, I thought if you played Luna Snow in the middle lane, on each side, on the right and left, you would get an ice cube. And that's not what I had to read that again.
Yeah.
Actually, I had to watch the dev video to understand. Oh, what they mean is they give you an ice cube there, and then they give the opponent an ice cube as well. So they still get the bonus too. It also takes up space. I mean, I'm not spending a key for this one. I have not seen her. I don't think I've seen her at all yet. Now, granted, I haven't played a whole bunch since we've only had, 2 Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday, Thursday, and today. I haven't hardly played any today, so I'm not seeing her out there a lot. First off, do you know who Luna Snow is?
I had to look her up too. She is, I think, associated to a certain extent with Wave and Arrow. I know she is a member of a team called Tiger Division, which I think is an East Asian or Pacific Rim kind of team.
Okay.
She's South Korean. I knew some of the characters she was associated. Let me see. Oh, and she's also the founder of a South Korean K-pop group.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she first appeared in War of the Realms, the New Agents of Atlas, and that's a team that has like Amadeus Cho, Swordmaster. Yeah, there's Arrow, Silk, White Fox, Jimmy Woo. So yeah, she's for that. Oh, and it looks like she's about to smooch with Amadeus Cho there.
Oh my.
Oh, and it says her powers, she can produce dark ice for destruction and light ice for healing. I did get her. I had some spotlight keys burning a hole in my pocket since I'd only used 2 in the last season. I had 4 when it started, so I'm like, she looks pretty cool. I like anything that gives you more energy. It took me a little while. I got a double. I forget which one. I got 1,000 tokens, and then I got the Lady Deathstrike variant. I had X-23 and Lady Deathstrike, but I like the variants they had. It took me a third try to get her. Maybe I overspent a little, but I haven't nailed it down how best to use her. I've put her in a Surfer deck. She's actually in that MCU Hammer deck, because I've got a lot of higher powered cards in there. So hopefully she can get some cards out there a little sooner. I do like the idea of following up with Red Guardian, because you make one of those ice blocks a -2. It doesn't give them extra power, and it doesn't disappear when they fill it up. So
that is brilliant.
So I mean, haven't been just blown away, but she seems like a fun card, and does a few different things. So yeah, I'd like to try that out. Also, I guess she's featured in Rivals, and before she was in a comic, she was in the game Marvel Future Fight, which I have not played. I think that's another mobile game.
Next up, Penny Parker. 2 cost, 3 power. On reveal, add Spider to your hand. When this merges, you get +1 energy next turn. When Penny Parker merges with something, you get an extra energy the next turn. Spider comes out, and Spider is a 3 cost, 3 power. On reveal, merge with one of your cards. You can move that card next turn. So clearly, you lay out Penny Parker on turn 2, then turn 3, Spider's going to merge with Penny. Hopefully that's probably the combo you're most going to see. You'll get extra energy at that point, and a 6 power card that you can move next turn if you want. So my first thought was it'd be kind of nice to get Dagger merged with Spider, because at that point you'll have a 3 power whatever Dagger is. Dagger starts out at 0, doesn't she?
Right.
Yeah. So now you have a 3 power Dagger, and then you can move her the next turn. So it could give you a decent boost if it's late in the game, possibly, if you got Dagger out there. But that was my first thought. I was trying to think of what I saw in the dev video. I know that they showed Penny merging with Agony, which, that would,
or Hulkbuster would be another option.
So
Symbiote Spider-Man, come to think of it.
Oh yeah, but
yeah, that's kind of cool that she's not limited to just that card.
I like the Hulk
Spider, or you can use, like you said, Spider on other cards like Dagger, or your buddy Sebastian Shaw. That's one of your favorite cards you have.
You jerk. Sebastian Shaw, King Eitri, and Cassandra Nova, all cards that I've got sitting in a deck right now. I like the Hulkbuster idea. That would get you a pretty big card that you could move around. Any other thoughts on Penny Parker?
Continuing the move theme with the Spider-Verse characters, as much as we give them a hard time for folks like the Fantastic Four never being viable together, they're fixing that as they go along.
All right. Well, next up is Dr. Doom 2099. So we now have 2 2099 characters, right? We got Spider-Man 2099 and Dr. Doom 2099.
Only a matter of time till we get Ravage.
We're going to be like 60 years old at that point playing this game. Dr. Doom 2099, 4 cost, 2 power. But after each turn, add a Doombot 2099 to a random location. If you played exactly 1 card, and then the Doombot that comes out, which I don't know if you're catching, so far we've had 3 cards that create something like an extra card of some sort. We got Luna Snow with her ice cubes, Penny with Spider, and now we got Doctor Doom with these Doom bots. And that's typical stuff, though, with Doctor Doom, where he does the Doom bots. But these Doom bots are 4 cost, 2 power, just like our regular card. However, they're ongoing. The ongoing is your other Doom bots and Doom have +1 power. So what are your thoughts here?
Nice. Yeah, I didn't realize that. That does make it more promising. Also, it looks like it will be pretty easy. You'll be filling up a lot of space with that. So Dazzler would be a good one to add to that. Maybe Sunspot, because you might not be wanting to use a lot of energy.
Right.
I saw you put down Onslaught or Mystique, so that could keep boosting it. Spectrum, because you're going to have multiple cards with ongoings out there.
Oh, yeah. That's
and
good.
Zabu, maybe to get him out there, or maybe Venom to swallow him up and clear some more space.
That's a great idea. I like it. All right. Next up, Bruce Banner, 2 cost, 1 power. When you end a turn with unspent energy, 25% chance to Hulk out. They don't really explain much about hulking out. I could assume that he's going to turn into the Hulk, which is going to be a 12 power. He's 12 power, isn't he? So, you got a 25% chance here, if you have unspent energy too, for a 2 cost, 12 power card. That's a pretty big jump if that happens on the last turn and you lose because Bruce Banner hulked out or something. What are your thoughts?
Well, get Sunspot in there to soak up some of that energy. 25% might not seem like a lot, but if you've ever had the Danger Room kill card after card, you know that it's not insignificant. I could definitely see him working with my Savage Sword of Shulkanot deck, since it doesn't rely solely, but part of it's built on having at least 1 turn where you don't use any energy. Ravana would get him down to a 1 cost. Mr. Negative would also make him a 1 cost. Those 2 usually run together in my negative decks, so I could easily see Banner fitting in there too.
Yeah. All right. So Rocket and Groot is up next, and that's not 2 separate cards, folks. No, this is 1 card. 3 cost, 3 power. You can move this card once. After your opponent plays a card here, steal 1 power from it. So my question was, is this a situation where we're stealing power each turn?
I would think it was only 1 time, but I could be wrong. We've demonstrated multiple times that I have not interpreted that correctly.
It doesn't have a caveat by saying the first card the opponent plays here after this is played or something like that. It just says after your opponent plays a card here, steal 1 power from it. So we're stealing and adding to Rocket and Groot, which is nice. That's a 2-point swing anytime somebody lays something down there. So unless that person's packing Luke Cage, then you could have, you lay out Rocket and Groot turn 3, turn 4. If somebody's playing in that spot, you could potentially be up to a 3-6, and your opponent's going to be losing 3 on that lane at the same time. So it'll be interesting. You can see the rest of my notes here. Duo cards. There's no sense. If we can have Rocket and Groot on 1 card, then we can easily have Cloak and Dagger, Power Man, and Iron Fist. Hawkeye
and Ant-Man.
Yeah. And this is kind of a way of getting around running out of characters. They should never run out of characters, but you can now be like, oh, okay, well, we can do some card duos and make it interesting. So I like it. You got any thoughts?
No, just 3 costs. So my immediate thought is Surfer deck. And especially when Surfer's boosting them up every little bit, starts to make a difference. I don't know that I want them to overdo the duo thing too much, but as long as it's somebody that makes sense like this, it's a great way to do it.
I think that you could move this once ability is kind of like, that's their way of letting you your opponent's going to avoid where you're at now. If you want to move it over here, and if they're going to play on this other side, that might actually come in really handy on the final turn. You can move this over there. I have a feeling that anytime somebody lays that card on that lane, that's
could be, and that makes it really good for a 3/3 because you can get it out there for half the game. I always like adding another energy. I always like being able to move somebody, especially get somebody into the Sanctum Sanctorum or crash wherever Professor X is hanging out.
All right, next up, Lasher. 2 cost, 2 power, activate, afflict an enemy card here with negative power equal to this card's power. This is going to be a card that is the prize at the end of High Voltage. Thank goodness High Voltage is coming back. 28th of December, I think, is what they said. So it's going to be a while, obviously near the end of the month. Lasher's going to be out there. I like this card. I think that's a pretty good way to get a good swing, especially throw Forge out there. Galacta is one we've already talked about. You throw that out there, and here comes Lasher. Let's just say you do Forge. You got a 2 cost 4 power, which then hits one of their cards for -4. That's 8 points right there. You got 4 on your side. They lose 4.
Hulkbuster and America Chavez will be other ways to boost him up. It'd be hard to target, but next time Krakoa is a featured location, might be nice to trot him out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, then let's go to locations. Both of these locations are in the Rivals game. Spider Island. After you play a card here, move it. Pretty simple. I like it. It's Dagger, Human Torch, Vulture. It's Legion. Yeah, that's right. I said Legion because Legion's going to Legion it, and then we're going to be moving everybody else around all at once. So what are you thinking here, man? Spider Island.
I like I said, that it fits with the Spider-Man family. I enjoy a good move deck, and I'll definitely be rolling that out when this is the featured location.
All right. And then finally, as far as this season goes, when we take a look at Tokyo 2099, cards cannot be discarded. So at first, when I read this, I was like, this is a bunch of crap. And there is a lot of people that share the same sentiment, surprise, negative sentiment. However, I started thinking it over. I was like, what would my buddy Evan Bevins think about this location? He would look at the positive side of things. I'm looking at Tokyo 2099, and I'm like, okay, what's the good things? Black Cat. All right, Black Cat does not go anywhere. Lands in your hand, cannot be discarded.
Oh yeah,
love it. All right, Swordmaster's he's 3 cost, 7 power. And a lot of that is because the downside is you lay him out there, he just discards a card at random from your hand. There's no right or no, he's the
he's odd numbered.
Yeah, pretty big beefy dude for 3 costs. The other one, Blade's a 1/3, and he won't discard anything. The downside is that this is going to be one of the ones that gets put on the back burner quickly because you can't do anything with that location if it's not being featured. Okay, cards can't be discarded. Okay, well, I'm not facing a discard deck. I don't play a discard deck. It's a nothing location. It's not going to be doing anything for anybody. And if somebody does have a discard deck and this pops up, they're retreating immediately. It'll be an instant retreat if it's working against you. I'm not impressed with it. A lot of people aren't. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like you said, it's either nothing or totally disrupts it. I think it would make more sense if it was like you couldn't discard cards at that location. If you played a discard card there, it didn't work. But I think that's probably what they should do, because that could be pretty interesting. There's times when Wakanda doesn't make a difference in the game, but other times when it really does. That could be neat because you're like, okay, I've got a discard deck. Do I retreat because of one location, or how do I deal with that? So I think that could be interesting. But to just say you can't discard at all is kind of odd.
Yeah, it's a weird choice. And I think my note was like, okay, we're just going to take locations now and make them essentially affect specific archetypes of decks. Like the next one will be, let's see, what do you have in your options? Discard, move. What are the other ones? Discard, move,
destroy.
Well, we already kind of have that.
Would it be with Wakanda? It doesn't take it out of the whole game.
Right. I'm not too.
Yeah, I wouldn't have an issue with it being one just at that location. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, it seems weird to just shut that down totally.
Are you ready?
On reveal, ongoing. Did you have locations that say ongoing abilities don't work here, on reveal doesn't work here, but you don't have anything that just says you can't do this all game at all? Of course, the other thing is, I don't know why you would want to do it, but when it's featured, you could always add Scarlet Witch or Magic or someone to your discard deck just to be like, haha, I'm going to discard after all. But I don't really know what that would really do other than, it's like, oh no, now I have to worry about Hela after all.
Yeah. All right. We've done it. Evan Bevins. We have done it. We have discussed quite a bit of Marvel Snap here. Let's go ahead and do some plugs. What do you have going on over there at asterisk51.blogspot.com?
Oh, well, I am still trying to make my way through the amalgam titles. Got a little slowed down by real life, unfortunately, but trying to get back on that. Got a few more left to finish that out. And then just some fun stuff here and there. Hashtag Dollar Tree Cinema, hashtag Free Comic Friday. Looking to wrap up the amalgam and find a new series to go through in the new year. You can also check out the Magazines and Monsters podcast. Episode just dropped where Billy D and I watched Night Tide, a 1961 movie starring an extremely young Dennis Hopper as a sailor who falls in love with a woman who may or may not be a mermaid.
Okay. Always good stuff over there.
Free to watch on YouTube. I recommend the black and white version, not the colorized.
All right. Hey, folks, listen, you're listening to this most likely on the Source Material Comics podcast feed. Right now, I'm kind of pushing a lot of things. We thank W2M.net for handling the distribution of this podcast, and you can find us on Spreaker through them. But I will say that I'm going to push the YouTube a little bit. If you want to go check out the Source Material Comics podcast YouTube page, we have a lot of, our shows automatically go over there. And one of the advantages of that is that you don't have to listen to ads. So I fully recommend, and usually when I'm sharing things, it's usually the YouTube link. That's pretty much all I have. Well, that being said, we're getting out of here. That's Evan Bevins. I'm Jesse Starkey.